For every swing, every moment, the Milwaukee Brewers fight. It's not just about hitting the ball, it's about leaving a legacy.
The clock is ticking, and the Brewers front office is about to make a move that could change everything this October. I have behind-the-scenes information on a seismic shift that isn't in the headlines. Before I reveal the name that could take our offense to another level, hit subscribe now so you don't miss exclusive scoops like this one. What's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to your #1 source for all things Milwaukee Brewers. I'm your host, and if you're like me, you live and breathe the blue and gold. If you want the fastest information, the deepest analysis, and the inside scoops that actually matter to us fans, then you need to do one thing before we go any further. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. I'll wait. Done? Good. Because you're not going to want to miss what I've got for you today. All right, let's get right to it. The MLB trade deadline is just over 48 hours away, and the air is thick with possibility. I've been talking to my sources, working the back channels, and there's one name that keeps coming up in connection with our Milwaukee Brewers, a name that could be the final piece of the puzzle for a serious World Series run, and that name is Marcel Ozuna. Yeah, I know what some of you are thinking. Ozuna, the Braves designated hitter? And I get it, but that's why you come to this channel. Not for the surface level headlines, but for the real analysis, the story behind the story. And the truth is, according to very reliable sources around the league, there is real movement building around Ozuna. ESPN's Buster Olney confirmed it last night that talks are heating up, and I'm hearing the same. At least one team, and I have strong reason to believe that team could be ours, has had serious internal discussions about acquiring the Big Bear. Let's break down the facts. As of July 29, 2025, the Milwaukee Brewers are in an enviable position. We're sitting at 63-43, firmly in first place in the National League Central. We've overachieved, built an identity as scrappy underdogs, and we've beaten teams with far larger payrolls. Pat Murphy has done a masterful job, and the chemistry in this clubhouse is undeniable. We have the grit, we have the pitching, but if we're being honest with ourselves, Brew Crew, we know where our vulnerability lies. Consistent power in the lineup. Look at these numbers. Through Tuesday, we had just 101 home runs. That ranks 24th in all of Major League Baseball. Our slugging percentage, a key measure of a team's ability to generate extra base hits, sits at .386, which ranks 22nd. Those are the numbers of a middle-of-the-pack team, not a title contender. Christian Yelich has been a solid veteran leader with 19 homers, and the emergence of our young stud Jackson Chourio with 17 home runs has been spectacular to watch. They are the heart of our lineup, but after them, the power production drops off a cliff. We can't rely on Yelich and Chourio to carry the offensive load every single night, especially in October when every pitch matters and you're facing the aces of the game. This is where the Marcel Ozuna conversation becomes fascinating. The Atlanta Braves are the polar opposite of us right now. They're struggling with a 45-60 record, sinking in the NL East, and clearly positioning themselves as sellers at the deadline. They need to offload expiring contracts and retool for the future. Ozuna's contract is one of those. He is in the final year of his deal, which means he is essentially a rental for the rest of the season. Now, let's talk about Ozuna's numbers this year. They aren't going to blow you away at first glance. A slash line of .233, 361, 393. Yes, the batting average is low, but dig a little deeper. He still has 14 home runs. He still draws walks, as evidenced by his high on-base percentage, OBP. And we know what he's capable of. This is a guy who led the National League in home runs and RBIs in the 2020 season. He has a proven track record of being an impact, middle-of-the-order bat. The talk around the league is that he's been dealing with a nagging hip injury earlier in the season, which could account for the dip in production. If he's healthy, or close to it, that bat could wake up in a new environment, especially one that's in the middle of a pennant chase. The key here is the risk versus the reward. General Manager Matt Arnold has been brilliant at finding value where others don't. This is a classic low-risk, high-reward play. Because Ozuna's contract is expiring, the cost in terms of prospects will not be exorbitant. We are not talking about giving up one of our premier young talents. The Braves don't have much leverage here. They need to move him. We are likely talking about a package of mid-level prospects. That is a price you gladly pay for the chance to add a former all-star with proven power to your lineup for the stretch run. And then there's the willingness factor. Ozuna has 10-5 rights, which gives him the power to veto any trade. That's normally a hurdle. But reports from people close to the situation, including John Heyman of the New York Post, indicate that Ozuna is open to a move. His role in Atlanta has diminished, and he wants to play for a contender. He wants to be in the lineup every day, and frankly, the Brewers can offer him that. We can slot him in at designated hitter, moving Yelich to the outfield on some days to keep them both fresh. The flexibility is there, so when you put it all together, the picture becomes clear. The Brewers, a top-tier team with a clear need for power. The Braves, a struggling team with a veteran slugger on an expiring contract. A player who, despite a down year, has an elite track record and is motivated to prove his worth. It's a perfect match. This is the calculated gamble that a smart, aggressive team like ours makes. It's not a world-shaking blockbuster trade, but it's the kind of strategic move that wins championships. It's the difference between a first-round exit and hoisting the trophy in November. And I, for one, believe Matt Arnold is all over this. The question isn't if the Brewers should do it, it's what are they waiting for to get the deal done. Let's go a little deeper on this analysis, Brew Crew, because the details are what separate idle rumors from actual strategic planning. The main concern I hear from some fans is, why mess with the chemistry? This team has an average Joe's identity. They play for each other, and that is 100% true. The cohesion of this club is its greatest strength, but adding a veteran like Marcel Ozuna doesn't have to disrupt that. In fact, it could enhance it. Think about it. Ozuna is a former teammate of Christian Yelich from the Miami Marlins days. There is a familiarity there. They've hit back-to-back in a lineup before. That pre-existing connection can make the transition into the clubhouse significantly smoother. Ozuna wouldn't be coming in as a total stranger. He'd be walking into an environment with a familiar face and a respected leader who can vouch for him. Furthermore, he brings a wealth of postseason experience. He's played in 30 playoff games, been on the biggest stages in the sport. For a team like ours, which is relatively young in terms of long playoff series experience, having a guy who has been there and succeeded can be invaluable. He knows what it takes to win in October. That mentality, that calmness under pressure, is something that doesn't show up on a stat sheet but can elevate the play of everyone around him. Now, let's talk about the lineup impact. Where would he fit? The beauty of this potential acquisition is its flexibility. On most nights, you pencil him in at designated hitter. This allows Pat Murphy to get creative. He can give Christian Yelich days in left field to keep his legs fresh for the long haul. He can rotate Sal Frelick or even Chourio through the DH spot for a day off from the field. But the most impactful scenario is this. Imagine a batting order that features Sal Frelick at the top, followed by William Contreras, Christian Yelich, and then Marcel Ozuna in the cleanup or fifth spot. That is a lineup that commands respect. Suddenly, opposing pitchers can no longer take a breath after they get through Yelich. They have to face a proven power threat, a guy capable of changing the game with one swing. This creates a ripple effect. It protects Yelich, giving him better pitches to hit. It gives Jackson Chourio, likely hitting behind Ozuna, more opportunities with runners on base. It deepens the lineup instantly and takes the pressure off some of our younger players. Instead of hoping for Joey Ortiz or Bryce Turang to provide the power, you allow them to focus on their games, getting on base, using their speed, knowing that the big bats behind them can clear the bases. That is how good lineups become great ones. And let's be clear about the cost. The fact that Ozuna is a rental on an expiring contract and is having a down year plays directly into our hands. Braves GM Alex Anthopoulos is a sharp negotiator, but he is not in a position of strength. He needs to get some value for Ozuna before he walks for nothing in free agency. That means we'll not have to part with top-tier prospects like Tyler Black or one of our promising young arms. The package would likely be centered around minor leaguers who are further from the majors, perhaps an arm with upside but risk, or a position player with a limited ceiling. For a team in our position, win now mode. That is a trade you make every day of the week. It's a calculated bet where the potential upside, a revitalized Ozuna powering a World Series run, far outweighs the potential downside, an average bench bat for 2 months. The precedent for this type of trade is all over baseball history. Think about what the Braves themselves did in 2021 when they acquired guys like Jorge Soler, who was not having a great year, and he went on to become the World Series MVP. Sometimes the change of scenery, the energy of a pennant race, and a new role is all a veteran player needs to find himself again. Ozuna fits that mold perfectly. The question then isn't whether the Brewers have a chance to get him. The chance is real, and the logic is sound. The question is whether Matt Arnold and the front office will pull the trigger. They've been conservative in the past, sometimes to the frustration of us fans. But this season feels different. The division is within our grasp. The National League is wide open, and this might be our best shot in years. Standing pat and hoping our current offensive output is enough in the postseason is a bigger gamble than trading for a proven power bat. To sum it up, the Marcel Ozuna situation represents a golden opportunity for the Milwaukee Brewers. It is a low-risk, high-reward move that directly addresses our biggest need, middle-of-the-lineup power. With his expiring contract and the Braves in sell mode, the acquisition cost is manageable and shouldn't hurt our long-term future. He brings postseason experience, provides protection for Christian Yelich, and deepens our batting order in a way that could make us a true World Series contender. Now, I want to hear from you, the Brew Crew. This is our community, and your voice matters. Would you pull the trigger on this trade? Do you believe Marcel Ozuna is the missing piece to take us over the top? Or is the risk of disrupting the team's chemistry too great? Drop your thoughts and your analysis in the comments below. I want to read every single one. Stay tuned. The deadline is approaching fast and things are happening. For instant updates, in-depth breakdowns, and the latest news as it breaks, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. I'll be here bringing you the facts and what they mean for our hunt for a championship. Thanks for watching. Go Brewers!